Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Winning Real Estate staff, Cardone Veterans Group. I have a special guest, Jarrod Glant from San Diego, California, sunny Southern California. Man, I am excited to have you. Brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And, I'm in rainy Miami right now. But San Diego, what a great place to live growing up.
Fantastic. Okay, so where are you from, Jarrod?
I'm originally from San Diego, like you said. Today we're based in Miami. Obviously, working for Grant Cardone, the president of the company. I've been with him for 14 years. In that process of transitioning from San Diego to Miami, was through Austin, Texas, back to San Diego, Los Angeles, and then out to Miami. So, I've gotten to live in some pretty great cities.
That's crazy now. So you were born in San Diego. Did you go to school out here in San Diego?
Cal State San Marcos. I grew up going to the Miramar Air Show when it was the Navy base before. I think it's a Marine base now, but I used to go to the Navy Air Show there, and Top Gun, was there, and I used to see the Blue Angels flying. I'm like, man, one day I'm gonna be a fighter pilot. That was like my first. My first, dream of what I want to do growing up. I thought that was the coolest thing.
That's fantastic, man. So you grew up in San Diego. You went to Cal State San Marcos, right? And then your father, I did a little bit of research. Your father sent you a video of Grant Cardone, and I know that you were kind of in transition. What were you doing before you met Grant?
I was, at the time I was working for one of my best friends. His family has a asset liquidation auction company. And so this was in 2008, 2009. And so basically 2009, I was working for him, and my job was to call all the banks in California that had non-performing portfolios. Obviously financial collapse was happening. And so a lot of the loans that they had written were going upside down. And so my job was to go out and call all the banks and get them to have us value the assets of the business and help them recuperate whatever money they could by selling off the assets to the business. So, I mean, I love my best friend. He's a great guy, but this was not the business for me. This was it felt like we were you're profiting off the failure of business, which essentially you were. But man, for somebody who's entrepreneurial and like, I want to see people winning, and it was just so many people that were failing, and I was like, man, this is not a good fit for me.
Right. So how long did you do that position?
Probably six months, 9 months, something like that.
So you were transitioning. So you got out of Cal State San Marcos. You were working for your friend. And then now you made that phone call to Grant from a video. Now, how big was the company back then?
There were like 4 employees, some part-time, small operation. And I interviewed, the office was in his pool house.
So it was out here in San Diego?
No. It was in LA. I interviewed in LA, but he had a big house, so he had a guest house, pool house. And that was where his office was at the time. So that's where I actually interviewed.
Okay. So you got the interview. Now, were you just thinking to get a position, or did you think that you would end up being where you're at today?
Man, I was just trying to get my next breath of air, bro. Like, I was just trying to get a job, trying to make a paycheck. Like, I wasn't thinking about any of it, Nobody knew who he was. I mean, it was nothing, I mean, in one space that he was doing business with, people knew him, but like, there's a whole world. It's like, going from a small town to a big town, and like, everything's new, like nobody knows you. And so that's where I came in, and the mission was blow the business up. And, at the time, I don't think either of us thought it would be where it is today, but, as your abilities grow, your potential grows, and as long as you keep chasing that, you can do great things.
So now you came into the company. What was that first interaction that you had with Grant? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, he wasn't even there when I actually started. I hadn't even met him yet because the guy that interviewed me was like sales guy / shipping guy / and then I was driving up there to meet Grant, but he had to take off. So I drove from San Diego to LA and missed him because he had to go to an event. And so I got hired and I'm making calls. I'm there for 2 days. There's nothing. There's no CRM. There's no leads. There's no organization. Like, there's nothing. And the guy that hired me was actually out, and Grant walked in, and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "My name's Jarrod. I'm a new sales guy. I'm answering phones for you too." He goes, "What are you doing right now?" And I had been going through LinkedIn because I didn't have anybody to call. There was no numbers. There was no nothing. Like, so I was going through making a list from LinkedIn, like company, who's the owner. Then I'd go on Google and I'd find their phone number and I'd start making a list. And he goes, "I'm not paying you to make a list. Pick up that fucking phone."
That sounds like him.
So that was the first. Apologize for the obscenity there, but it's
Oh,
real.
good.
Yeah. That was the first. So that was the very first interaction I ever had with him. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be different.
So now, you're starting the business. You already interviewed. What was the biggest challenge with getting into the company and establishing yourself to start going up the upper mobility of becoming, where you are today? If you could bring this back,
Just making it work. The problem that a lot of people have when they're getting started is like the work is very imbalanced. Like, we tell business owners and entrepreneurs in our ecosystem all the time, which is tens of millions of people, millions of clients and customers, that, dude, you got to get to 1 million in revenue as fast as you can. And it's got to be like whatever it takes to get there, because at that point, you kind of reach a tipping point in the business where you're like, you found out something that works, customers are willing to give you money for it. You're generating enough revenue where even if you're running a 20% margin, 15% margin, you're still at 150, 200 grand. That's not no money. And at that point, you've probably got a few employees. So like, you have something that's viable. If you've got a business that can go to 1 million, it can go to 10 million. And if you got a business that gets 10 million, it can go to 100 million. And so, really just having like ingenuity and grit and perseverance to just figure it out, to get it where it's working to the degree that you can actually start building. And a lot of businesses get stuck in that under $1 million. In fact, 91% of all small businesses in America do less than $1 million a year of revenue. And they just can't get past it. And so for me coming in, I mean, I didn't own the business, but I was basically given a brand new product, Cardone University. He took all these DVD programs and we got him in the studio and he shot Cardone University. And now there was this new product that nobody had really sold before. He barely had even sold it.
Right.
And I was like, figure out how to go sell this thing and make a bunch of calls. So along the way, it was just figuring out the next thing. Like I operate in a like, I think through things as sequence, systems, and as long as you have a path, you can reverse engineer it to like, what's the next thing I need? Like, if your business isn't growing and you're like, I'm not generating any leads. Okay, well, what do you need to learn about marketing? What do you need to learn about lead gen? What do you need to learn about copywriting? What do you need to learn about running ads? What do you need to learn about landing pages? What do you need to learn about email marketing? Like there's always a thing that's stopping you from getting to the next level that can be solved with education.
That's exactly how I felt. When I went to the business boot camp, I was at a breaking point in my business to where I was burnt out. Yeah, I felt like I have gotten to a point to where I remember going to the first one, and the first one, you guys were saying that, you're catastrophically comfortable, and then you start to lose money because you're starting to, not leverage and go to the next step. So going through that process with marketing and everything else, I learned a lot. How did you guys come up with that program?
Well, I mean, 30 years of doing stuff that works, that doesn't work. Like, Grant is a sales master. Mm-hmm. But no matter how good you are at sales, if you can't generate leads, then your business is going to stay small.
That's true. Yep.
And then if you don't figure out how to price your products, if you don't figure out how to get people to keep buying from you, if you don't figure out how to get people to spend more money with you or tell their friends about you, like, then your business is going to stay small. And so over the years, we've just taken all the things that we've done in our business to go from, the core of it was sales. Like until your business is doing $1 million a year, like sales has got to be like, sales and marketing are the two most important things in your business.
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you're good at marketing and you're good at sales, like you should be able to hit $1 million in 12 months in revenue, or at least a run rate of that. And so we just took those things and became masters at them, started learning social media, learned how to connect sales and marketing together, started building out our team, had to work through culture and getting the team inspired and engaged, had to start developing managers. Like we just kept solving the next problem. We partnered with Brandon at Cardone Ventures, who's like, if I'm a system process guy, he's like 10x that. Like he has, right. Yeah. He literally has a roadmap for a business to follow from 0 to 125 million. And there's 261 things at various stages of your business growth that you need to have in place to get to the next level. And he has them all mapped out with SOPs tied to everything. There's actually like 1,800 documents attached to this entire roadmap through the thing, the break point, the thing that's going to break, and then SOPs to fix that. And so seeing all those things really demystifies business. And so the business summit is really a way for us to bring all of those things, a sampling of all of those things into one event. And we spend 3 days with business owners who want to grow and help them work on money and marketing and sales and people and hiring and leadership and executing on the plan. So it's an incredible event.
Now, I do have another question for you. What is okay, so you're harder than the Chinese president to get a hold of sometimes, Jarrod. When do you add more staff to your position to where you can do all of these things? Because how many companies are in the incubator right now?
You mean our ecosystem?
Yes.
Tens of thousands. I mean, we have over 1 million customers in our database, and we do about 190 or 200,000 unique transactions with customers a year.
Okay. That's a lot.
So for us, when we're trying to figure out how to do the next thing, like our business is not the way you should model a business. Like your business should be modeled looking at somebody who's doing 2 million or under. And there's a rule that we teach people called revenue per employee. And you really need to be targeting $200,000 to $500,000 of revenue per employee in your business. Obviously, when you're on the lower end of that, those numbers change. But at $1 million, you should have 5 employees.
Oh, I'm understanding it now. So
it's a calculation of revenue contribution per employee, a full-time employee, not like like my wife has a business and, she has a couple of freelancers and contractors. She pays them, $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month. That's not how that calculation applies. It applies based on an $80,000 salary load.
Now being the glue, right, for all of these organizations, how do you find out what is the number one thing that you would tell a person that wants to get into business? Like I'm a brand new person, I want to start a business. What's the fundamental thing that Jarrod would tell based off of your experience? What would you tell a brand new entrepreneur?
Yeah, you have to get your product known. Almost everybody underestimates, I'd say by a factor of 10, because that's what the 10X rule is all about. Mm-hmm. But it's probably more like 50. They underestimate how much is actually going to be required to make it work. And, like if you can master the sales and marketing game, like everything else falls into place. If you're great at marketing and you can generate leads, if you're not afraid to pick up the phone and call people, you're not afraid to go see people, you're not afraid to to actually enter a sales conversation. It's the fuel for the entire business. If there's no leads, you got to create your own leads. If there's no sales, then you don't have a business. Like you have to be able to do those two things. And so another piece of advice would be like, there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you've ever read the book, but
no.
It basically is just this concept of, you want to be out in the blue ocean, not the bloody ocean. Like the bloody ocean's where everybody's at. There's a lot of competition there. The blue ocean is where nobody plays. Like it's open, clear seas. And the problem is some people come up with ideas that they're trying to do that either nobody's ever done before or very few people have proven it to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you really ought to look at things that are like pinkish. Like there's enough people in the space. You could even jump right into the bloody water. Like if you're a good person and you provide good service and you can figure out basic sales and marketing, like you could start a roofing company. That's bloody ocean. That's not blue ocean. That's red ocean. There's a lot of businesses doing that. But, because of that, there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of customers. You have a big market. You can, a big addressable market. Every house has a roof on it. So, you just then have to model, mimic, and master what's already proven to be successful, rather than having to come up with it all on your own. And that's another problem people have is they think every idea has to be one that they come up with. You literally can just look at who's doing something that's working and copy that into your business, and you'll do great.
Let me tell you a funny story, man. So there I was, right? The very first video that I had with Grant and y'all staff, and my Zoom wasn't working. So I had this big ass presentation set up, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to kill it, right?" And then I couldn't get it to work, and I was getting stressed out. And y'all, and then I got a text message saying, "Hey, we're gonna have to reschedule." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" I just blew my shot. I laid on the couch, I cried, I called Connie. I'm like, "Man, I blew my shot." Then I found out that Grant was running late. I want to tell you, man, that was probably like the worst feeling that I had in my stomach when we first started doing everything. But I will tell you something that I learned within my business from going to the business boot camp. Advertising in the beginning broke our follow-up system. We was not. I can tell you this, guys. If you don't go to the business boot camp and get this information, I had a break point of not being able to make sure that we had the internal system to facilitate bringing in 21,000 people.
Yeah.
So we have been working through that, right? So learning that and learning the processes and learning what the breakpoints are super important. I have a question for you. What makes you decide on when you want to partner with a company? Because I know you guys get approached a lot. Like, how do you know what are some of the key things besides liking them? I remember that you said that on the stage. You said if you like a company and you look at the numbers and stuff like that. But what are some of the, if somebody wanted to partner with Grant, what do you look for, Jarrod, in that business?
Well, I mean, the first thing is we don't just partner with anybody. Like every partnership that we do is a result of somebody going through our process. They go through a business summit, they go to a 360, they platform their business. And that's a significant investment. At that point, they probably have $260,000 invested in the whole process. And through that process, what we're able to do, number one, we find out that they're committed. Number two, they learn how we do business and they start running their business. We do business. And then from there, we determine if it's a viable partnership or not. Now, in your case, which is the minority of cases, there's a particular space that we want to be in because we see a need. In the veteran space, there's a huge need. The money statistics for veterans are terrible. The loss of mission when they come back from deployment and exit, the military when they retire, there's just there's a void that gets left there. And unfortunately, not all the skills that you learn, which are some of the most amazing skills a person can have, which are taught in the military, they don't always translate into what you need in order to be successful in business. Like, you can learn discipline, you can learn camaraderie, you can learn leadership, but like, you have to translate that into the real world, which is like, okay, now I need to learn how to sell, how to market, how to hire, how to operate a team, how to, use technology. Like, there's all these new skills that you have to learn. And, for us, in our opinion, the military and veterans, active duty and veterans, they put their life on the line for us. Grant and Elena are very patriotic. They are very USA all the way.
Yeah.
We believe this is the greatest country in the world, and it's that way because the military protects us, and the military makes sure that we are protected from enemies. And when there's situations, they go in and they fix it, right?
Right.
And so they're not compensated at the level that reflects the thing that they're putting on the line, which is their life. They're being deployed away from their families for 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. Like, the sacrifice that comes out of this group is unparalleled. And because they're underserved, and that is Grant's, he was an underdog. He was accounted out. He was, his dad died when he was 10. He felt like the cards were all stacked against him, and he came out of it, and he was always like, hey, when I do this, I'm going to help people that need help. And so the military is a huge focus for them, and for us, we're big supporters. And we believe the best way we can support is by helping equip them with the skill sets that they need so that they can go out and get freaking rich.
That's right.
They need to get out of the military. They need to serve their country. They need to come out of the military, and they all need to get rich. They need to know what to do with their money. They need to know how to create more money. They need to know how to multiply their money. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of good outlets to do that. And so the reason why we partnered with you was because, Grant saw your commitment to this community and everything that you were doing to get them on that path. And it was just like a really natural fit, at the surface. And then we got to dig in and figure out, okay, what's Tony Glant all about? And what kind of guy is he? And so over the course of the time that we've got to spend together, we were like, oh, this is a no-brainer. We got to do this. And so we're committed to it. And our goal is to create financially free veterans who are winning, who are a great example, and who are being properly rewarded for the sacrifice that they made for us in the military.
And you know what's crazy about that, man? I'm getting goosebumps because we have been waiting for this moment. Look, we where I was at before and what I was doing, we were teaching just how the surface level of investing, but even just getting in and going through all of the events, it has made me such a better leader, and also giving me the tools so I can push out more information and get it so they can, because a lot of people are not teaching them anything. I served for 20 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, went to Afghanistan, Iraq, did all of these deployments, and nobody was helping us do anything. And all banks want to do is take, and the first thing that you guys said is, how can I help you? That, I felt like a wounded dog. I'm like, well, yes, we want to help military spouses, want to help vets, and they just don't teach it. So think about this. The military is designed, I'm going to be straight up, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but the military is designed to keep people broke. They don't teach any financial literacy. There's 71,000 Marines on Camp Pendleton, and they have one financial advisor. There's people living paycheck to paycheck. They don't do anything. Then people have families that they're away from. There's people who are, I talked to an amputee the other day, and he's getting $3,100 a month. He's not even 100% disabled.
Yeah.
Right? He went to Afghanistan and lost his leg, and he didn't even know that the VA loan existed. He didn't even know that there was grants available. And the reason why, and guess how he found me? On the Cardone Veterans video.
Wow.
So when we're doing stuff like this, when Grant said that he wants to reach 21 million veterans and families, I believe it, and we're completely committed to going forward, man. It's overwhelming sometimes because, I know what it's like to be over there and not be able to have the support that you need.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. And so, the mission that we have with Cardone Veteran Group is to give vets a place to come to where they can get the information that they need to go and win. Same thing we're doing with the Grant Cardone Foundation. We're going into underserved communities, at-risk youth, and we're showing them a way that they can win. Like, they got a better chance of being a millionaire from business than they do from music, from the streets, from sports, all combined. They got a better shot at making money as a business owner than doing any of those things. But in those communities, that is the thing that is kind of evangelized, is like, this is your way out. This is how you can win. And it's not the case. And that's just the product of not being in an environment where people are actually giving you the right data. And so we want to create a community where there's a collaboration, where there's inspiration, and there's strategy, there's accountability, so that we can get people on track. And it's an education process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are things that have to be learned. Just like you go to basic training, you move through the ranks, you learn and master your role, you run peak, like you got to learn and develop how to do those things. And the same thing, if we could just get vets to take that same idea of development and just apply that in their business, and look at the areas of a business and just go, I need to develop this area, I need to develop this, I need to develop this, and then execute with discipline, which we know members of the armed forces are capable of doing because they do it every day.
Yes.
The exercise, discipline, and execute. And if you can, like, the majority of business owners cannot execute. And they haven't been put in a situation where they've had to, like many of our military folks. So the potential inside the veteran community is massive because of the soft skills that they have. Now we just need to get them the right information on how to successfully, start a business, grow a business, hopefully exit a business, get a big check, and then invest that money so that it can continue to grow and create generational wealth for their families.
And I believe that that's the only thing that prints money is a business or real estate. You're not going to become rich by saving your money. You have to invest it in something. And then a lot of people, this is one thing that I also like, is that the barrier of entry for getting into these programs are not that expensive, right? So getting into the business boot camp and then going through that, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, you are not going to be able to scale your business by yourself without help. You have to invest in these products. I'm a product of I would not have gotten where I was or know what I know unless I showed up, number one, committed myself to a process, and then also listening to where I had breakpoints at. If I wouldn't have went through those programs, I wouldn't have known this. So I'm telling you guys, make sure that we're going to leave a link in the chat so you guys can have where you can register for these events. And I do have another question. I did hear about, you guys have one more Growth Con. Is that true?
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the next big thing, man? Like, when he said that, a lot of people were asking us, like, what? I know you guys are working on something. What is the next? Can you give us a little teaser? What are you guys working on? I know you're working on something new.
October is going to be our very first 10X Wealth Conference. And we are going to be discussing real estate investment, private equity, investing in the stock market, wealth management, advisory services, entity and trust setup and structure, wealth preservation. So we're going to slide into these wealth building vehicles, life insurance, and how to leverage that as a part of a strategy. And so it's a huge. I mean, we've got business owners that have businesses that are doing 5, 10, 15 million, 20 million bucks a year that have no idea how to structure their finances so that they can build wealth, proper asset allocation, proper protection, tax, tax mitigation, and this is going to be a big platform for us. Now we're probably, I don't know if GrowthCon's gone for good.
Okay.
But we were thinking going in that this might be our last one. We'll see. We're open to changing our minds.
And guys, if you're a veteran, also, we do have the Veteran Wealth Formula that we teach, the 5 pillars of generational wealth building. We're going to teach you how to buy real estate. We're going to teach you how to structure your LLCs and the S Corp, C Corp, whatever you decide to do. We teach you guys how to hire your kids in your company tax-free. We also teach you some how to set up a trust and how that works. And then also how to invest in multi-units, guys. So, there's nobody on the planet out here that knows how to underwrite properties better than Grant, okay?
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in that, we're going to be putting some information in there. And the barrier of entry is inexpensive for you guys to get in.
Yeah, look, I think if investing in yourself is not something that you're accustomed to doing, and you actually want to be successful in these areas that Tony's talking about, I think you have to go back to something that you can look at that you do know, which is look at your role in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be where you're at today in the military? Would you have developed if you didn't have anybody telling you what to do, showing you what to do, keeping you accountable, and growing you? Would you be where you're at without a senior officer or a senior in your area, your department, your division? Would you be where you were at without their leadership and guidance? And I'm going to guess the answer is no for almost 100% of the people on here or watching. And so you just have to go, okay, now I know that works because it got me where I'm at. So now you have to take that same principle and just apply it to the business world. The question is, who's going to be your senior? Who's going to be your commanding officer? Who's going to be the person who's guiding you and mentoring you? That's the question you need to answer. Now, in the business world, those people don't do that for free. They're not sponsored by the government and they're not funded by taxpayer dollars. They're funded by economics. And so you just need to look at, can I trust the person I'm learning from? Do they have the statistics? Do they have the experience? Do they have the track record to back it up?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, then you need to get around those people. And so we do some free things with Tony. We do things that are very affordable, a few $100s to get you in and get you started. And most importantly, though, you need to get back connected with a community of people that are like-minded, that share the same background experience with you, and that want to do something big. Because when things get tough, you got to have somebody to lean on. You got to have somebody to answer questions for you. You got to have somebody to support you. And that's what we're doing with the Cardone Veteran Group.
And I'll tell you another thing too, guys, and you kind of know some of this military lingo, man. What you been, year left? You might have been a soldier or something back in the day, Jarrod. So again, the thing that I learned about going to these events is that you want to be in a room with people that you want to become like, right? So if you're not in a space to where how are you going to become a multimillionaire if you're not in a space where people are doing something that you're trying to do? So when I went to the first event in San Diego, I was sitting next to a lady. She had $100 million business. It was in San Diego. I can't remember her name, but she was cold, so I gave her my jacket. And then you guys start asking the question, who has a business worth, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million? I'm looking around. I'm like, where in the hell am I at? Right? It was people in there with $200 million businesses. And then what I noticed is that, I was one of the only veterans there. And I think that what you guys are doing is you're breaking the glass ceiling for service members to see that they don't have to depend on their retirement money. Look, you know how much I get for being a retired Marine? I'm going to tell you straight up. I get $2,200 a month, and I get $3,400 for disability. Right around $75,000, $80,000 for my retirement for 20 years and 6 combat deployments. It's not enough, right?
Yeah.
So when, getting in the space and getting around people, getting out of that fishbowl that you're in, and getting in the ocean with big sharks is where you guys need to be at. Jarrod, I do have a couple other questions because I know you got to get going here soon, and I appreciate you coming on the show. What advice, if you could go back in time and look at 21-year-old Jarrod, what advice would you give yourself today? Because I know you invested a lot.
Stop smoking weed.
What?
That would have been the first thing. Stop smoking weed every day. And dude, learn how to cold call and learn how to market. Like, become obsessed. Learn everything you can about sales. Learn everything you can about marketing. Because if you have a great idea, but you can't do those two things, it's never going to go anywhere. And if I would have, I never really made high volume cold calls until I came working for Glant at 27 years old. Mm-hmm. And if I would have started doing that at 21, I would be much further along than I am now. If I would have been more interested in learning about how marketing works, I'd be way further along than I am right now. Like, the company would be bigger. And you know, you have the ability to get access to all of those things. Like, right now, we have an opportunity for you to do it. If you wanted to do it for free, there's ways you can do it for free. It takes more time. The information can be less reliable. There's no accountability. There's no support, blah, 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 blah. You know, if you have the desire, the opportunity is there. And so for me, I would have just gone back to learn how to generate revenue, period. Because once I learned how to make cold calls, my confidence went through the roof.
It was a raise.
I'm like, I can call somebody I don't know and get them to give me money. Like, that was one of the most freeing things I've ever learned in my life. Because now, if Grant decided he wanted nothing to do with me, all I got to do is figure out what I'm going to sell. And I would do that by finding where's low-hanging fruit, what's easy to get into, not a big capital investment to get in, like buying, $1 million worth of inventory. And I'm like, give me this thing right here and a product, and I will go to work and I will make money. And then once you get past that and you start getting proof of concept and you got money coming in, then you got to go, okay, I'd like to make less cold calls and I'd like to call more leads. Then you got to figure out how to take that money and start generating leads. And so if you could get focused on those two things, and then the first 2 years you're in business until you're profitable and making money, like don't change your lifestyle. Like, don't spend more money. Like, literally just double down on what's working, continue to reinvest the money and build a company. Like, and I would go into a business, if I were starting over again today, I would go into a business now where I'm like, I'm going to build and grow something and sell it in 5 to 10 years. And everything that I did would be like, I never thought about that. I never thought that if I could build a business doing 15 or 20 million in revenue that's making $3 or $4 million bucks a year, that I could sell that for 30 or 40 or 50 million bucks. And you can. And that's the big score that I was missing in business for a while that I know about now, thanks to brand.
And you invested a lot of revenue into the real estate deals. Can you tell us about how that first check was from Grant?
Yeah, I mean, dude, look, I didn't come from a family where they knew about real estate, invested in real estate other than the house that they owned. Like, I didn't come from money. Their parents didn't have money. Like, it was not, like, that was not a natural thing. And here I am, I'm starting to make a little bit of money. I got $100,000 in the bank. Never had that much money in the bank before in my life. And I'm like, Grant, what do I do with this? I'm terrified. Like, once you have something to lose, like, you got nothing to lose. You don't care. But once you get enough money where you're like, oh man, I don't want to lose this. That's why most people end up just saving money and it's in a savings account or a 401k or some garbage thing like that, is because they're scared and they don't know what to do with it. So I took a leap and just said, hey man, what do I do with this? He said, give it all to me. I'm going to put it in a real estate deal. It'll be the best investment you ever make in your life. That first $100,000 that I gave him over the last 12 years has paid me every single month $800 to $1,000 plus. We've refinanced through a couple cycles and I've pulled back probably $300,000 in distributions on that. And if that deal were to sell right now, I'd get $1 million check. And so I've got now $4.5 million of cash invested with him. and probably 15 million in equity I'm sitting on. If he liquidated the whole portfolio today, I'd get a check for 15 million bucks.
And this is the thing. Where would you be if you would have quit? This is a thing that I want to tell people, like,
I don't even want to think about it. Oh, I don't know. Not where I'm at. I don't, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my boys. Like, I'd have some other life. And I love my life. My life's amazing. And there were times I wanted to quit. There were times when people tried to hire me away, and I considered it for a second. Like, but like, you just got to stay the course, play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Stick and stay is bound to pay.
That's a good one. I like that.
Stick and stay, it's bound to pay. You do the right thing with the right people over a long enough period of time, it works. And like Grant always says, you're never paid what you're worth. You're underpaid until you do it long enough where hopefully you don't give up, you don't quit, you don't bail, you become overpaid. You're either underpaid or you're overpaid. You're never paid what you're worth. And too many people quit before they cross over into being overpaid. They give up,
oh, man, that's good.
Disengage, back out. And, it would have changed my life in a lot of ways that I don't even want to think about.
And that's the bet out of the entire podcast. I think that's the best message, because so many people, when I was making this transition, left. And I'm going to tell you why, because of fear.
Yeah.
And they, sometimes if you focus on the people over the profit, then you're always going to have, do the right thing. Because see, a lot of people, when you said, people were trying to hire you away, imagine if you would have went in that direction, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Well, I mean, dude, look, in some cases it was significant more money that I was making. But none of those people are in a better position now. I mean, dude, I'm making more money in some cases than their business is generating in revenue.
Ooh, that's a flex.
Like
flex.
But, that's just the value of loyalty. That's the value of being impatiently patient. Like, you have to have urgency in what you're doing, but it's a process. Rome wasn't built in a day, there's ebbs and flows. Some years are better than other years. New products, problems, economy, there's all kinds of ups and downs. Just stick in with the right people and do the right things over time, and it will work.
And that's the reason why I like the culture, man. It's addicting. And I can tell that it's, you want to have a culture. And I feel like the reason why people, leave organizations, especially when it's it's growing, is because they don't want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. But I would rather have those people that are there before the meat's on the table, and then, we share the table together. And usually what I've learned in the business is that, as I was growing, I was shedding people. But the reason why you shed those people is because they're not supposed to be where you're at. I would rather shed those people, those non-committed people, before I get promoted. Yeah. Right? Because then if you got people who are not thoroughly immersed in the direction that you're going, those people can destroy your business. And I heard Sherry talk about that. She said, if you got a bad apple, they're going to ruin the whole thing. You need to cut them, get them out of the business, because they can completely destroy your business. Did you guys have any challenges like that in your business?
Of course, people we hung on to for too long, but you learn those lessons over time. Shame on you if you don't actually act on the experience, right? Like, if you don't learn anything from it, you don't act on it next time, then you're an idiot. Like, you gotta spot those things and course correct. And look, I'll just tell you, you don't find great people without turnover. Like, you got to get through bad people to get good people, and you got to get through some good people to get great people. And if you're afraid of turnover, you're never gonna make a spot for somebody great to come in. If you've got 5 employees and one of those spaces is occupied and you can't support more than 5 people in the business, until you get rid of that person, you don't have a space for somebody new to come in who might actually be the right fit.
Man, that's good, Jarrod. Man, so much to unpack. I'm thankful for you being on the, coming here today. I know you're a busy guy. Is there any closing remarks that you would like to tell the people that are listening to the podcast?
Yeah, man, I just say, number one thing you can do is invest in yourself. It pays you your whole life. Invest in skills that make you more valuable in the marketplace. In most cases, a one-time investment in yourself. You invest 10 grand to do a program for a year or something like that. Like you can't judge your return based on what happens 3 months after you make that investment. Because if you do the right thing, you're learning something that's going to help you make more money your entire life. And, when I learn something, it's not making me money that day. It's making me money the rest of my life. And people are too short-sighted. Like, you just need to think, just like you're a soldier is going into battle. Like, you want to know every tool and resource you have to win the fight. And you want to use all of them, or at least you want to have the ability to know with confidence that if shit goes down, you got a way to fix the problem or handle the problem or fighting through the problem. And if you don't have skills in business, then you will get crushed in the business game.
That's a fact. And I'll tell you guys this, listen, in October of 2019, I said that I was going to be out of real estate production. I didn't know how I was going to get there. And this is how the universe works when you put yourself in the right place and you're doing things the right way. And I said I was going to retire February 20th, 2023 out of production. I got that was my 45th birthday. Guess what, when you set that contract over? February 21st, 2023. The day after my birthday. And I just want to say you have a committed Marine for life. I love you guys. We're committed to doing this thing. And it's surreal because I feel like I don't deserve to be here. I'm being honest, from Clubhouse to building this thing out to going all of the ebbs and flows, getting from underneath our previous company that I owned, and then now going into this direction, my heart is full. So I want to say thank you for giving us a shot, and I'm super excited for what the future holds.
Me too, brother. Me too.
All right, brother. Salute, man. The best way to reach you?
At Jarrod Glant.
Okay. And then also the Young Hustlers podcast too, right? You still doing that?
There's still episodes floating around. I hadn't shot a new one in a while, but there's some great stuff in there. You should just Google it and check it out.
Come on, Jarrod, man. We need you on that show, man.
Yeah.
Getting that information out. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. And 10X, let's go.